Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to Financial Juneteenth. This is where we talk about all different kinds of issues that affect money and blackness and everything else that matters in the world. Now, I have the great privilege today to talk to someone that's been writing with us for a really long time, but I've never had a chance to see him in 3D. This is Dr. Samori Swigert. And first I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty well, Dr. Watkins. How you doing?
Doing really well, man. Really well. It's great to see you.
Yes,
Great.
sir.
Yeah, I have been a huge fan of your articles for a very long time. I have a lot of respect for your ideas, your perspective, and you brought something to our attention recently that was a story that really moved a lot of people. I want to say about a quarter million people, in our network read the article, and I thought it was such an important story. And it was the story of a brother by the name of Kirk Odom. Kirk was sentenced for allegedly raping and robbing a woman in 1981. The experts at the FBI, they concluded that he committed the crime, and they gave him 22 years of prison at the age of 18, which we can't imagine that. He was falsely accused. It turns out that he didn't commit the crime, and not only did he not commit the crime, but from what I understand, they actually knew that someone else committed the crime, that someone else was actually incarcerated for this crime. Um, and you wrote this article, and I was just floored by this. I was floored. I was outraged. Um, I mean, it hurt me to read this. So not only did he lose 22 years of his life, but something else happened to him while he was in prison. Can you tell me more about that?
First, yeah, definitely. First, I want to say thank you for letting me get on the platform that you've established. But yeah, that was probably one of the most horrific stories that I've read. It caught my eye. I was at work, and it was during my lunch break, and I was like, I like reading a lot of articles and stuff, and so it was in the Washington Post. And so I was looking, it was like, man, I think the article title read something like "Man awarded $9.2 million for a wrongful conviction" or something like that. And I'm reading, I'm like, this is, and it just kept getting the story just compounded. It seems like each paragraph I'm reading, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So you kind of already gave the intro, but yeah, while he was in prison, he was raped numerous times, and on top of that, he had contracted HIV from I guess, the prison rapes that occurred in there. And so when you look at the extent and the severity and the totality of it, it's, I even jotted down a little bit of the ideas of what I was thinking about. Is it goes far greater than just somebody that's wrongfully convicted and serves time 22 years in prison and contracts HIV. Like, it's a litany of violations and just true impact that we have to take into account and need to hold the justice system accountable for. Um, so we can go through that. But yeah, to answer your question, the thing that I think that caught people's eye was the fact that, look, you have a man that was wrongfully convicted, served time in prison, was raped, and contracted HIV. And we know that that's like, it's a crippling disease. Although we have treatment for it, he didn't have to contract that. He shouldn't have contracted it.
Well, what's interesting to me, um, and we'll talk about this, another aspect of this in a second, because it's like there's so many layers to this
Yes.
that are just all just incredibly painful, and all this should be discussed kind of individually. I mean, first you just have the challenge of a wrongful conviction. And it wasn't a light conviction. I mean, you're 18 years old. You're a kid. You got your whole life in front of you. The system gives you 22 years in prison. Okay, so you're going to prison for something you didn't do, and for 22 years. You're expected to get out when you're 40. So that pretty much means you're missing your entire youth. That's it. Youth is gone. Um, and then that's compounded with the fact that as a young man going into this brutal facility with hardened criminals.
Hmm.
I'm talking about you got some people in prison that did actually commit the crime.
Right.
Let's be real, and you're being raped repeatedly, probably beaten, just
Right.
abused in every way, and the system cares nothing about it because
Hmm.
according to the world, you're a bad person.
Right.
You deserve whatever you get, and that's a fundamental flaw in our society. We think that inmates don't deserve human rights because they've been labeled as felons, but what people forget is that many of these people are falsely labeled. Number one, and number two, many of them receive sentences that are far disproportionate to the magnitude of the crime.
That's right.
You have guys like a Daryl Pageant who got a 40-year sentence for possession of 1 gram of crack cocaine. It's insane. And then so you've got the loss of freedom, the extensive loss of your youth, the fact
Hmm.
that you're being beaten and raped, and then the fact that you catch HIV on top of that. Uh, and then there's the last kicker, and I don't want you to tell me more about this because this blew my mind. From what I understand, they arrested and tried and convicted someone else for that same crime the following year. Is that correct?
Yes, that is exactly correct, and that's the smack in the face because right there, that's how you see everything has been exposed for just the injustice of the system. When they sentenced Mr. Kirk Odom in 1981 for the alleged rape that he committed and robbery, the very next year, 1982, they actually apprehended the real perpetrator of the crime, sentenced him for the crime, locked him up for the crime. So when you understood that you got the correct perpetrator, you didn't have any ethical or moral, virtuous, like nothing crossed your mind to say, wait, we sentenced somebody for that crime. Let's go back. Let's find him. And this is only a year. Let's go back. Let's get him out. Exonerate him then in 1982. No, they didn't do that. You allowed this man to languish in prison. You knew that. I
Wow.
think that the people there should have just, the prosecutors, the judge, if they know, if you knew that, not if, they were cognizant, fully aware of that, they should be brought up on charges. They should be brought up on charges.
Hmm.
100%.
They should be tried. They should be
Hmm.
sued.
Hmm.
They should lose everything they've got. I mean, you took everything from this man. You should lose everything too. You should have to go to the very same prison that you put him in, and you should do at least 5 years for what you did, maybe longer.
More
Um,
than that.
right, more maybe more than that. And what's so interesting to me is that there's just such a lack of sensitivity because there are people out there that are even trying to argue that $9 million is too much money. Basically, it sounds to me like they're saying this nigga doesn't deserve 9 million. Just give him a million.
Right.
If he'd been free, and that really I think gets back to the fundamental belief that black life is not worth anything. That a black man's life, that if you lock him up and throw their life away at the age of 17, it doesn't matter because he wasn't going to amount to anything anyway. I mean, tell me what your perception is in terms of the racial dimension of this. Do you think this could have happened to a white woman, for example?
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not. One, I believe it was a white woman. I believe that for one, the chivalry component, the traditional, the traditional component of how people process handling a woman. Like you're not the way that we would deal with a male that committed a crime, and especially like physically brutally, you're not going to apply that same type of justice to a female. I mean, that's just tradition. Whether it's on the books as one thing, in actuality and in practicality, that's just not how it's going to happen. And then, let alone white, it's two totally different systems of justice. We know this, and it's funny that you bring that up. I'm probably going to disappear off the screen for just like 5 seconds because I found a case last year in Pennsylvania. They had these two white men. I think one was 19 or 20, and the other one was, I think, maybe 27. They were selling drugs on a college campus: cocaine, PCP, ecstasy, marijuana. Um, then they were selling to five different high schools. So they were supplying five high schools. They were supplying universities: PCP, cocaine, ecstasy, marijuana. And when they actually found, I guess, their stash house or whatever, they would do their illegal activity and transactions. They found a loaded automatic assault rifle. They found all the cocaine and everything. Um, the older guy, white guy, is like 27, I believe. Now he got sentenced to, I think, 15 years. But you know what? The 19-year-old white guy, he actually got sentenced to, I think, 23 months in jail. And here's the thing: they had recruited high school students to sell and supply all their stuff in the high school. So you mean to tell me you get 23 months in jail? Basically 2 years in jail. You have an assault rifle, handguns. You have all these other legal narcotics. You're giving out narcotics to high school students to sell for you in 5 different high schools and colleges in just 23 months. Like, come on. As you talked about Daryl Patch, like, come on. There's definitely a bias and injustice there. Definitely.
Wow, you know what? And I think that's so interesting. I mean, there's a person that I know by the name of Mario Lloyd, who out of Chicago, who was convicted for selling cocaine in the 1980s. It was a first-time nonviolent offense, and Mario, the judge gave him 15 life sentences. Even though they never found the drugs on him, they put the conspiracy charge on his family. So they sent him to prison. They sent his sister to prison, his brother to prison, and his mother to prison. I
So they
just
got the whole. Oh,
they
so they got the whole family basically.
they sent the whole family to prison, and he's still in prison to this day. According to the way the laws were in the 1980s, he'll never get out. Even though we've all learned since then that the war on drugs was an absolute failure, that it
Right.
was one of the single most destructive forces toward the black family since slavery. Since we all know that it's hurt our country in so many ways, uh, the government still has dragged its feet in terms of actually dealing with and confronting these disparities and how they've affected the black community. Right now, the African American male is the most incarcerated human being on the planet. We are the most incarcerated group of people on the entire planet. One of the most incarcerated in the history of the world. Even during apartheid, South Africa didn't incarcerate as many black people as we incarcerate today, and South Africa is a majority black country. So the idea that we have done just this kind of damage to the black man is so interesting. It really speaks to the psychological disposition that many whites have toward blacks when they, for example, when they did the study, and they found that white people truly believe that black people feel less pain.
Right.
Black women, men or women, and they feel that way about the black male. It's almost like we're kind of an animal that
Hmm.
needs to be controlled and contained or put down if necessary.
Right.
And I think what makes the problem even greater is that so many of us have become so trained and docile to the seriousness of this problem that we don't do anything about it. We don't say anything about it. We just allow people to label certain people as bad people, label you as a felon. Then at that
Hmm.
point, they forget all about you,
Right.
and it only becomes a tragedy when it happens to you or happens to somebody that you love. Then you
Uh-huh.
finally get it. You know,
Hmm.
um, right. So okay, so how is this brother doing? I mean, have you read anything in terms of where he is now in his life? I know he got the court judgment. Has he at least gotten the money? Because you know how it is. They do the judgment and then they pay you whenever they feel like paying you.
Right.
He's got HIV, so I'm hoping that they pay him sooner rather than later. How is he doing in general? Do you know anything about that?
Um, I don't have too much more follow up at, but I plan on following up. As far as I know, his wife, he's married. His wife he met through his HIV counseling, his HIV counseling group. So that's a good thing, because I mean, a lot of people when you talk about somebody with HIV, they're probably going to avoid you and everything. So that to me is like a real true display of love, unconditional love. So that's good to come out of jail and actually find that. And so I think he was awarded the $9.1 million maybe about 3 weeks ago. So I'm not sure if funds have been dispersed or allocated to him yet, um, but I think he's still like in the DC area. So I mean that's as far as I know, and I think he's trying to, how can I say, just maintain or bring back the relationship with his daughter, which is another thing that needs to be addressed. Um, after his release. Um, we're going to stretch it out because you know what? I actually wrote down some things that really touch my spirit that we need to address because it's so much deeper. We got so many layers to peel back, and we're gonna go through that. But I just wanted to show you. This was the I don't know if you can see it. This is what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can see
So
that.
so we're gonna. I'm probably actually gonna do an article on that too. We need to talk about that. Um, but no. So for the viewers, the audience, here's some things that I thought about when it came to Mr. Kirk Odom situation. One, he was sentenced in 1981. That same year, his daughter was born or just a newborn. So this who's a young lady now, has been separated from her. She's known her dad probably from behind bars. And I don't even know if they even sustained a relationship while he was incarcerated. So one, you have a daughter that's growing up without her father. We talk about parenthood. We talk about the effects and influence that the positive influence and effects that a father can have on his daughter or son. She was devoid of that. She was deprived of that wrongfully because he didn't do the crime. So she's grown up without that. She's also probably had a stigma if she's had to tell people, where her father was. This is stuff that the system did to her. Um, Two, he was separated from his family. They said that his family went estranged after he became incarcerated. So I don't know if that was associated with the fact that, they felt like he committed the crime and they just didn't want to have anything to do with him. But I mean, just imagine that you're 18 years old and then you just don't have any support system. The phone calls start decreasing, the letters probably don't happen, for something that you didn't do. That will cause all type of mental turmoil, spiritual turmoil. And it said in the article that he actually, suffered from depression, tried to commit suicide multiple times. So that's another thing, the mental health that's associated with it. Raped multiple times, a young, raped multiple times, contracted HIV. You served 22 years in jail for something that you didn't do. Then comes the other thing when people get paroled and they released from the system. You have that scarlet letter of okay, well, you've been in prison. I don't know if I can hire you. I don't know if I can trust you. Well, I don't know if you have the skills to execute the roles, duties, responsibilities that are attributed to this job description here. They, as soon as they see that felon, that job opportunity decreases. Then you also look at it, we flip it around and then we look at it this way. How much does it cost to house a prison inmate? I say, I don't know the exact figure, but like, 30,000 or something of that ballpark figure. You may be able to help me out with that figure, but you multiply that times 22. I think I said 30,000 and then multiply that times 22. That's $660,000 of citizens tax money, because we know that the tax base from the citizens is what goes to fuel the funding and operations of the prison facilities. So this is $660,000 tax base from the citizens that didn't have to go there. I mean, it could have been directed towards other things such as HIV counseling where he met his wife, or homeless shelters or educational things. This is what I'm talking about. Then he came out in 2003 and he's just now rewarded $9.1 million. So not only was he in jail, away from his family, away from his daughter, assaulted, raped, contracts HIV, probably had a hard time getting a job. I have to wait 12 years from release to even get some type of reward from that. Then let's take it a step further. Let's also look at it because in America we always tend to try and go with like big data, big facts. What do the facts say? So his wrongful conviction and incarceration, what does that do? It bolsters the prison statistics for black males. So across the nation, they're going to say he's an extra number that says, okay, if this is the level for the national level for incarceration for African American men. Every time you throw a black man in prison, it ups it. Well, he's falsely, convicted, so he really shouldn't even be included in that. But guess what? That boosts up your your prison stats for African Americans. If you was the stereotype, when we talk about stereotypes and character assassination, what do you look at? Oh, African American male, young black, menace to society. So even though he didn't do it, he feeds into that now. And he didn't, the system's responsible for that because they didn't do the due diligence to thoroughly review and inspect his case and investigate it. What else does this do? Think about this, Dr. Watkins. You served 22 years. How many presidents have we gone through, right? This man, and think about this man and countless other men like him. You just robbed them of their privilege, their right to participate in the electoral process. So when you look at that, it's like you wrongfully convicted him. You wrongfully robbed him of his opportunity and right to participate in the electoral process. So there's so many dimensions and layers that we just got to keep peeling back and talking about it. But I kind of been dominating, so go ahead and pitch it.
No, that's a good point. I mean, you think about that. I mean, he went to prison at the beginning of the Reagan administration. That's a long time ago. The beginning of the Reagan administration. You know, and what's so interesting to me, you mentioned the political aspect of this, is you have so many of these groups out here that are so concerned about sexual assault that will just hammer all day to pass laws to stop sexual assault. Even if you didn't do it, they still sometimes will treat you like you did. But they don't have anything to say about all of the men being raped in prison and women as well. They have nothing to say about people being raped in prison, but they'll talk all day about somebody getting date raped on a college campus. Not to say that that's not a tragedy. We know it is. But I would say that if I had a choice between one date rape on a college campus versus going to prison, losing 22 years of my life, being repeatedly raped over 20 years, and catching HIV, it's an easy choice. Right, for something you did not do. So to me, it's like you lose credibility at that point. What you're not concerned about sexual assault because you're only concerned about sexual assault when it happens to a white woman, or that's when you think sexual assault is serious. You have no concern for what this brother went through, or how devastating it must be to be stripped away from your family, stripped away from your newborn child, and to go through this nightmare over 22 years. And these fools want to act like $9.1 million is too much money. Man, he deserves $900 million. Those people need to be at the bottom of the prison. They need to go through what he went through so they can understand how he felt. And one other interesting dimension to this, and this is very important to understand, this relates to what we used to talk about in economics, we call it the shadow price. Here's the thing. Kirk Odom's situation, as crazy as it sounds, Kirk is still, in my opinion, one of the luckiest of the unlucky people that go through this. And what I mean by that is his case hit the light of day. He's being compensated on some level. He's receiving some kind of retroactive justice, as horrible as it may be. There are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of other Kirk Odoms out here who will never be exonerated, who will never have their case hit the light of day, who will never get a chance to have their case talked about in a forum like you and I are discussing it right now, who will never receive financial compensation for what they've done, where the government will never acknowledge that they wrongly incarcerated this man. And so I would add on to the fact that in addition to the black man being the most incarcerated group of people on the earth, we are the most falsely accused group of people on the earth. Do you remember? Do you remember the case of Brian Banks out in California?
Oh, with the rape, and then yes, I got it.
And do you remember what? I don't know if you remember this part. Brian was quoted as saying that when he went to his attorney and said, Brian Banks, for people who don't know, he was falsely accused of rape, and he lost his whole football career, everything. He was a top football prospect. Somebody said he raped him, and I guess they didn't have any physical evidence or anything. They just took her word for it, which is insane to me. And he ended up going to prison for 7 years until she finally admitted that she lied. Brian Banks said, when I went to my attorney and said I did not do this, I want a jury trial, his lawyer flat out told him, look, Brian, you are a big black man, an all-white jury is not going to acquit you. So you need to take a plea deal. And so if a person, and when I say you, I'm not talking about you, Smart, Dr. Swag, I'm talking about you. If you are dumb enough to think he was the exception, then you are out of your freaking mind. You're a complete idiot. Because this happens every day in every city across America, and it's happened for hundreds of years. We as black men don't get a trial. In many cases, if you are accused of something, that is the same as being convicted of something.
That's right.
Doing a year in prison is the same as a life sentence based on the way the laws are structured, because when you get out, you can't get jobs. You've been completely stigmatized, completely marginalized, and it affects all of us, because many of these men have families. They
Right.
can't, and they can't provide for their families. They can't go out and be men and do what men are supposed to do, because the system has labeled them with that scarlet letter. And so I would hope that anybody watching will be as outraged about this as you and I are, because the thing is, we're not mad enough about it. We somehow think it's that there's something wrong with being an angry black person. Well, the hell with that. We need to be angry. Maybe
Right.
if we get angry, some of these fools will start listening to us a little bit more. Because we can't let our children have their lives stripped away from them, and not let people know that we are willing to fight. And I'm gonna say this last thing, and I'm gonna let you get the last word, man. I was watching a documentary by Ken Burns. Ken Burns is this documentarian who makes these great historical documentaries. I don't know if you've ever seen some of his stuff.
Oh
It's
yeah.
really good. And he did one on prohibition, and he was talking about so he was talking about white women that had organized and put together this fight to push forward with prohibition. And I like studying what white folks have done historically in terms of politics and stuff like that, because it tells me a little bit about how this country was created, how the powers that be think, where all this came from. I believe to understand the present, you got to understand the past. And one of the things that I actually admired, that I actually took a note on, was I remember there was this one lady who was sick of what alcohol was doing. In case you don't know, white folks love to drink. They drink more than we do. They've always loved their liquor. God bless. I mean, I'm not. This is not a negative comment, but it's true. Look at the data. Alcohol is the most dangerous drug in the world, including heroin and crack and all that stuff, because we think it's safe because it's legal. And actually, I don't know if you noticed, in 1830. The average American in 1830 consumed the equivalent of 88 bottles of whiskey every year. The average
Wow.
American.
Wow.
They wasn't counting black people
That's
that data,
serious.
because we were still slaves, so we had nothing to do with that. But here's the thing, like, so when they were trying to deal with what was happening to the communities, you had a lot of husbands that would get drunk, come home, beat the wives, stuff like that. You had a lot of women that were outraged about what alcohol was doing to the core of the family, was doing to our society. So this lady literally, you know what she did? And there's a point to this story. This lady took a hatchet, and she went inside one of the saloons and took the hatchet and started hacking on the bar, hacked the mirror, hacked everything, and dared them to get in her way. She went in there
Wow.
with the hatchet, and then
Wow.
she went to the next saloon and did the same thing with this hatchet, right? And people were so inspired by her courage that she dared the police to arrest her. And I think they eventually they did arrest her, but she get out, she come back with the hatchet, and
Wow.
then
Wow.
thousands of people started following this woman, and they would show up to saloons with bricks and rocks and hammers, and
Wow.
nobody got in their way because they knew that they were serious. Now, I'm not trying to advocate that we come out there, and condone that kind of violence. But sometimes, to represent the people you care about, you have to get a little bit gangster. You have to let them know that you are unapologetically going to fight for the rights and the protection of your children. If
Right.
you don't do that, if you're asking them to be nice to you and to consider your feelings and all that stuff, you'll never get what you deserve and what you expect. And you'll never have people respect your fundamental rights. So I think that as black people, we've got to understand that it's due to the way our incarceration system is set up right now. We are probably the most racist industrialized country in the world. We might be the most racist country on earth, third world countries included. We already incarcerate more black men in America than South Africa did during the height of apartheid. We mentioned that earlier. And so we're looking at a crisis here. I mean, we're looking at something that's genocidal in terms of the effect on our community. When a man goes to prison and he gets raped and he catches HIV, what do you think is going to happen in the community when he comes out and starts having sex with women? And he's too broke. He's too broke and too marginalized to afford health care. So he's not going to the doctor. He doesn't know what his health
Right.
is. In fact, he might even be suicidal because he doesn't feel like he has anything to live for. So
Right.
at that point, you're talking about something that's affecting all of us, not just some of us. That's why we have to be concerned about this. Now, I'm
Right.
done talking. I'm gonna let you get the last word, man. What are your thoughts on this, brother?
Well, another thing that I think is important is the fact that recognizing the power of the platform that you have. It's when I read the articles in the Washington Post, and so the things when you have outlets like the Washington major outlets like the Washington Post, New York Times, LA Times, and the Atlanta Constitution, things like that, they are so flooded with stories that they'll post one. And the next day, that story is kind of gone. You have to go into their archives. It may be gone in like 12 hours. So it was like Mr. Kirk Odom's story. It was like, okay, it's in there, and I don't, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything like that, because I didn't write the original article in the Washington Post, but it was kind of like me reviewing it and feeling that pain that I felt when I read it. I was like, his story really needs to be told, and the fact that I don't think a lot of people really pay enough attention to news articles and things of that nature. If I had to let that story go, I don't think it would have took off like it did. Like we had to give this story some legs and some feet to walk. And like you were saying, we posted it, and then you said it was like what 250,000 hits or something like that.
At least a quarter million. It
At
might be
least
more. It might be more than that.
right. So it's important that we maintain these platforms and these mediums that we own. And create our own message. Because if we don't, his story nobody will even know. Nobody really even cares. Only if you're like paying attention to it. When I looked at last time I looked at it in the Washington Post, I think it only had 50 comments on it. But if you look at Financial Juneteenth in Your Black World, I mean, flooded. So it tells you that this story resonates with people. It resonates with the masses of individuals. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we also have to pay attention to his case, and you'll see that his case and others like that, you have prosecutors and judges that are building careers off of that because it's like, oh, I got another conviction on my record. I prosecute this guy, I got a conviction. So it's like, look, y'all are building your careers, y'all are retiring off of false information while you're destroying other people's lives. You can go home, relax with your wife and kids. You can, take this money from your salary. You can put that up for savings for retirement, get your kids through school while literally stripping people, that innocent people. So it's just like it's so much that can be said, and I'm glad that people. I want to say thank you. First, I really want to say thank you to the Your Black World audience because y'all picked it up and it spread like wildfire, and a lot of people you can see the concern. So, what I was telling one of my friends was like, what the Your Black World platform, what you did and all the readers, what we did. Remember this, Dr. Watkins. His family was estranged. They left him while he was in prison. What we did was give him a digital Antoine Fisher family. You ever remember the movie Antoine Fisher when he came and then
Yep.
he was like, "Oh, this is all my family." This is kind of like what he got when hopefully if he did get a chance to read the articles, see the comments and everything, he can see that look, people really care about you. People really feel for you. There's empathy, there's compassion, there's so that's another thing. He had his digital Antoine Fisher moment. I really hope that he was able to see that.
Me too, man. Me too.
So it's a lot that can be said. I could probably go on for days and days about this case, but you know,
Well, you know what? We're going to keep talking about this for days, weeks, months, even years. We're not going to forget about this because the great thing about the internet is that you can talk about something forever. We don't have to ask for mainstream media's permission to do that. This is not something where there's a 24-hour news cycle and then we move on to the next topic. No, no, this brother's pain is pain for all of us, and this is one of those tragedies that we have to commemorate. And the thing is, white folks do it too. When they go through something, when they went through 9/11, they will never never forget 9/11. So I'll never forget what happened to Kirk Odom, and I'll never forget all the nameless faces Kirk Odoms that are out there. And we
Hmm.
have to fight for them. There are a lot of people in prison right now who don't deserve to be there, and there are people there who should have gotten maybe a year or two, who got 30, 40 years of prison.
Right.
They're not being helped by any of these weak ass politicians in Washington. We know that, and we've got to stand up for them. That is our obligation. These are our loved ones, and we can't let people do that to our families. So I want to say thank you, man. Thank you so much for your article. I know it brought me to tears. I know that lots of other people are continuing to talk about this, and we wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem. And one last thing, we need. I don't know how we can do it, but I feel and this is the last note. I think probably the most serious of everything we discussed. There needs to be a retroactive case review of all these individuals that were processed under this prosecutor, this judge, and the forensic experts that did the testing and everything. And like I said in the article, like I can't really go too hard on the forensics experts because in 1981 the technology they had to really analyze cases compared to where we are in 2015. It is what it is. But the prosecutors and the judges that let it happen when they knew that they had the wrong person, no, there needs to be a retroactive case review. There needs to be some type of a team, or we can go back and just backtrack and see, okay, who all got prosecuted, who got incarcerated because of that, and follow up on it.
Hmm. That's absolutely correct, and I am in complete agreement with that. I think that there has to be more structured effort to really deal with some of this because we know that our justice system is a complete mess, and I know I'm racking my brain on this. And anybody who's watching, if you have legal expertise that you want to volunteer to support some of what we're doing, please shoot me an email. Email me at boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com, and maybe there are ways that we can come together to fight on this issue. I know we got to raise money. We have a lot of things we have to do, and I just want to see what we can do. To help all the Kirk Odoms out here who are going through living nightmares, who think that nobody cares about them. I want you to know that we do care about you and we want to help. So thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.
All right, and everybody, this is Dr. Samori Swigert. He's a regular contributor to Your Black World. He does amazing work. You'll see his name and face everywhere, and hopefully, you'll see him more on my YouTube channel. That would
It
be
was.
nice. So now we get to know him in 3D as opposed to just seeing his excellent writing. And me, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.